Hello everyone, so in this video I will be doing a complete disassembly of the Godox SL-150W, or not complete disassembly but removal of the existing fan to do a fan upgrade using one of the best fan available for the PC, which is a Noctua NF-A8, and this is the ultra low noise version, I think, with the fan speed of 1400 RPM. And the fan is designed very well, and it should offer just as much airflow compared to the existing loud fan that they used, a very cheap fan they used inside the Godox SL-150W. So if you guys have this light, you know the main reason or the main complaint that everybody, when they get the light, have is that the fan noise is just really loud. Like if you're doing video production, like inside a room, like you're most certainly gonna be able to hear that loud fan noise, even at the lowest brightness setting. So what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna actually disassemble the entire fan, and we disassemble the exterior of the SL-150, and then expose the fan, remove the fan, and then replace it with the new fan that we have. So a couple tools I have, it's just some basic tools: Phillips screwdriver, I have a few different sizes, and the flathead screwdriver, like 2 of them. Depending on the disassembly, because I've never disassembled it before, we may need a few more extra tools that I'm gonna let you know if we do need extra tools to be able to complete the project. And I have some basic like thin wire connectors over here. Instead of using the solder, I'm gonna be using the wire connector, but there are a gazillion ways of connecting 2 wires. So regardless which way you do, just do the one that you think is best fitted for your needs or your style. Okay, so let's get started. I'm gonna leave the fan aside. And the very first thing is I'm gonna turn on the light so you guys can hear the fan noise first before I start disassembly. So I'm gonna turn on the fan, and you guys can hear it. Right now it's at 22%. I'm gonna increase it all the way to 100. I mean, this is a great light, very bright. The only downside is the fan noise, because it used a cheap fan. So this is 100%. And the fan is actually, I think, mounted somewhere over here, so it blows air out from the heatsink in the front of the light. So this is what the fan sounds like before the upgrade. Take the note, and we're gonna start. Very important, make sure you fully disconnect the power supply, and then just double check to see there's no power in the fan, because there are some high voltage components inside. So just be extra careful when you start doing disassembly. Make sure there is no power connected. Okay, so let's get started. So I think the very first thing I'm gonna do is actually remove the stand mount. And it would be nice to always have a plate to keep all your parts inside. Okay, I'm back with a scissor, and let me just cut this one. Okay, so cable tie is cut. I am gonna remove the fan itself and keep rest of the cable in place. Again, a power tool is optional, but as you can see, it's much quicker with the power tool. Over here, because it's close to the light head, I don't want to damage the light head, so I'm just gonna hand unscrew. Like so. And somehow it's glued to another wire on the side that I'm trying to remove. Just gonna cut this because I don't want to drag that wire off. That could be the temperature sensor, or it could be the light. But those are some very, very thin wires, so be really careful when you are removing the actual fan of the light. So it's a the fan brand is Progressive. And it's a DC brushless fan rated at 3.3 amp, 12 volt DC, and it's a very cheap feeling fan, like super light, and yeah, it just doesn't feel like a quality fan at all. So let's see. I don't want to cut it, but then I think at the end, if necessary, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the wires, because I have to probably, it's a different fan connector, so I have to probably modify the actual Noctua fan by cutting the wires and then connecting to the existing wire over here. All right, let's see. Okay guys, so what I was doing is I was using my scissor to actually split the wires on the existing fan that I cut out, because it had the correct connector, and I was just using my scissor to go like very carefully around the edge and just cut slightly, and then pull the exterior protective cover of those things. Take a look, see if it can focus. So that's what I did. And so the existing one, I got it out, and on the Noctua, I haven't got the wire out, because those wires are some of the world's thinnest wires ever on a fan, like actually thinner than on the cheap fan. I think this is like 24 gauge, and the cheap fan have like a 22 gauge wire. Regardless, the procedure is going to be same. So I cut off the fan connector. Just right off there, and I cut off the heat shrink, left some of the high temperature protective casing on it, and just had some wires exposed. And what I'm going to do next is I'm still just going to be using the scissor, very carefully go around the edge, and then remove the protective shielding on the wire. And then in the end, I'm going to be joining all those wires together and then connect the fan to the case, okay? Alright, and if you guys really want to know the method that I'm doing to split the wires, this is what I'm doing. So just use a very sharp scissor, carefully go around the edge, very gently apply pressure, and just get all the edges kind of weakened, and then in the end you can just easily pull the shell out. and you have to be really careful, because if you do it too hard, you're gonna pull the wires off as well, and you don't want to do that. So like that. You just get a little bit pieces off, and then you can pull the wire out. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. Again, this takes a little practice. So if you want, you can probably cut some additional wires off the existing fan, and then just practice on that before you start practicing on the Noctua, because the Noctua wire is actually much thinner than the existing cheap fan. Okay. So I'm gonna do the last one. Again, I'm gonna do this on the video because some of you guys are probably curious. And just gentle pressure, like not too much, like very little pressure. And then, like if it's exposed to just a little bit, I can try to pull it off like that. Okay. So now with all the wires out, I'm gonna have to find a way to connect all of them. Electric tape is gonna be my best friend at this point. Again, I don't have the solder. I think the best way would be just to solder them together. But since this are just two wires, I am simply gonna just use electric tape to connect them together and make sure they're secure before I tape it up. Alright, so I found my electric tape. The thing is, I am just gonna go ahead and just tape them together and call it a day, and connect and test to see if the thing is working. So I've actually twisted it quite nicely, or at least on the red wire quite nicely. So they should fit pretty snug. And I'm gonna do the rest of the wires as well, and then just wrap them up with electric tape. Okay. And because this area is not close to any heat source, it's far away from the actual heat generating LED, so it should fairly be safe and not wear out like that quickly. And I think if next time the fan fails, I should have the solder ready. I'm just gonna go ahead and use the solder to solder them back up properly. But at this point, I don't suspect it's gonna fail anytime soon. Okay, so I am gonna go ahead and connect the rest of the cables. So again, black to black, yellow to white, and then that should be it. There you go, it's connected. So I'm just gonna do a quick test, put this back on there, and then turn on the fan and see if it actually spins. Hopefully it does. Okay, over here. Now it's connected. I am gonna turn on the power. Moment of truth. Be very careful. Here we go. Oh my God, it's so quiet. Okay. There's visually no noise at all when the fan is spinning, and it seems like I've connected everything properly because obviously the fan is working. And next step is I'm gonna put everything back together. So I think the most trickiest part is actually mounting the fan back, because this fan actually have an extra side that actually blocks the screwdriver from going in. So I have to figure out how to properly connect on that side. So you kind of need a small screwdriver that can go through the hole. What I'm using is my little screwdriver set from Stanley. I'll post the link in Amazon if you guys need it. Very handy set, very useful for a lot of PC projects as well. And at this point, I'm tightening down everything. Okay. Okay, let's see. So for wiring, really there's not much to do. Just make sure it's not in the way of the fan where it's drawing a lot of power, and then you should be good. As you can see, there's really not much going on like around this area. I'm actually gonna split where the wires go. I'm gonna put this on the back over here, and then the temperature and the LED light, I'm just gonna have the wiring go the other way. Okay. So again, I kind of removed this little gel bead of the temperature sensor. Right now it's kind of hanging. I'm gonna find a way to actually tighten it somewhere to the fan, and then it shouldn't be able to move around. And you don't have to make them like super tight, just enough to fix them in a place, and that's good enough. Okay. Gonna cut the loose end. Be careful not to cut any wires inside. And this area, yes, as I mentioned, I'm gonna just tie the temperature sensor onto the additional fan hole over here on the top, and it should be secure, nice and secure. Okay, so I used just a quick cable tie to tie up the temperature sensor that I actually loosened at the very beginning. Now it's nice and firm over here. It's not gonna move around too much. Okay. So just to show you guys the final thing, I had a cable tie over here to tie the temperature sensors. I have a cable tie down there to tie the LED and the fan. I think that's a fan. Oh no, that's not a fan. So some of the LED, actually that's also the temperature sensor and the LED power. So basically one tie over here, one tie over there, and then on one side it's the one with the blue tie. On the other side is actually the existing Noctua fan cable. I had it long enough so it actually went over all the way here, and then just nicely resting on the edge. And I used a cable tie at the very end to just tie up everything else that's loose. So it actually still looks pretty nice and empty in this area. So I'm gonna do one final test. I'm gonna put everything back together, and then we're gonna test the fan noise again, okay? So I just connected the power, and we're gonna turn on the light. Let's see. And you can hear the sound. There's no sound, like my ambient noise is probably louder than this. It's visually quiet. So I would say, like, if you actually want a better performance, a higher airflow, also consider the A8. I think they have a version that actually spins a little faster, and that one should work just as well. Okay, so there you have it. In terms of temperature, it's running at 39 Celsius. It's going 40. Well, I'm kind of concerned by the temperature. You know what? I am actually gonna get a higher speed one to replace this, because the ULN, I don't think it's able to handle the temperature that the SL-150 is putting out. So really at 50%, the temperature stays below 50 Celsius degrees, which is nice. Just when you turn up the fan to 100%, that's where the temperature goes up. So in my opinion, it's usable if you don't have to go all the way up at 100% all the time. In conclusion, it's probably better to use the other version of the fan, which actually spins a lot faster than this one and produces a slightly louder noise. Okay, so there you have it. If you guys have any questions about the conversion of the fan for the Godox SL-150, feel free to ask me in the comments section, and I'd be happy to answer for you guys. And I'll post the link on where to get all the supplies and the fan, as well as a light, in the description below. So if you're interested, feel free to check it out. And thank you again for watching, and take care.